friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Man Cave, and I thought I'd wear my blue shirt for you today, so I know I look good in blue, so there you go. Uh, a lot has happened since we last spoke. I don't know how. I'm just glad I'm not 71. I don't know if I could do all this if I was 71. A lot has changed since I talked to you yesterday. I have done a lot of stuff, got lots of video to show you, show and tell stuff to show and tell, and I don't know. I'm pretty excited about it. It's getting better and better, It's kind of getting better and better. Now, today, the four-wheeler parts are supposed to come in today for the Honda four-wheeler, and so when that gets here, then I'll be occupying a lot of my time trying to get that four-wheeler ready, because I want it ready for the boys when they get here toward the end of this month. And I just found out that Leighton, the youngest boy, is getting a new dog. They're getting an Akita dog, and he is so excited about it. I mean, like, he's been wanting a dog since he was just a baby. I mean, he just really has. He's always wanted a dog, and he is so excited. And as he was getting on the school bus this morning, he said to his mom, I would swim across the Pacific to get that dog. He can't wait till he gets it. They're not going to get it for another week or two, but he is so excited about it. So I'm happy for him. I'm so glad he's going to get his wish finally. Anyway, let me get started here. Yesterday I cut down that cedar tree and made it just miss the camera. Well, here's just a very short clip about the rest of that. Now, you notice that, actually you didn't see it because the camera cut off, but I had tried to pull that out of there with the Ranger, and that was with four-wheel drive and everything, and it said, nope, ain't going to do it. But you grab a hold of it with that skid steer, it's like nothing. It didn't even notice it was there. It felt no weight at all. It just picked it up and moved it out of the way. Let's see. One of the things I did yesterday was I cleared out the area where I plan to do some metal detecting. So here's a video on that.
Well, my friends, that's going to complete this project for now. The ground's so wet because it's been raining so much that it's difficult to smooth it out perfectly right now. Anybody that's ever graded ground, you know that it needs to be dry to do a good job getting it smooth, but it's not real bad. I kept sinking over there. That was a real soft spot. I mean, literally the tracks would bury themselves a foot or two. It looks pretty good. Got all that old nasty wire out of here. There was just a bunch of just wire on the ground, and there was tons of those thorn trees, and I got rid of pretty much all of them. There's still a thorn tree or two around. That little thing right there is a thorn tree that's coming out right there. That one right there. But and there's a thorn tree over there. I'm trying to get rid of all the dang thorn trees on the farm. That's a battle I've been fighting since '98 when we bought the place. You can't do it. It's impossible. But at least I have them under control. The place was overrun with them when I bought it. Yeah, let me just show you if there's one here that we can see the thorns on. Actually, these are thorn trees, but they don't have real big thorns on these. Well, here's some there. Well, here's one right here. You see the big old thorns on these things, and they'll sure mess up a tractor tire or anything like that. And some of them, the older trees, or the bigger they get, the bigger the thorns get. So it's just good to get rid of those suckers. I mean, I actually like that wood. It's good wood for a lot of reasons, but those thorns are a pain, man. In fact, that burns really good if you want to use it as wood furnace stuff, Anyway, that's pretty cleaned up. I don't know. See this berm here? You can tell this is a berm, I think. This was put in by the bulldozers in the 40s. And, they just wreaked havoc everywhere. And so we're up on top of it now, and it goes down either side. But this goes a half a mile that way. So, and that's just one berm. There's one here. Well, actually, there's one up here on the hill, and then there's one up further on the hill. And the same way here, I think. I think there may be another one up here. No, there isn't up here, because they didn't ever pasture this. But then there's a berm kind of down through dividing these fields. And there's berms up on the other hills on the other side. And back there's several layers of berms going up the hill. It's just amazing how much the bulldozers did back in the 40s. But it was time to do this. I know some of you think it was only because I want to metal detect it. Well, that's part of it. That's 3/4 of the driving factor. But it needed to be done because it was just a mess. And quite honestly, this needs to be done at least down the length of this pasture, because the fence is just eaten up by trees and stuff. It's a mess. Nobody maintained it for years and years, and it is a mess. So I left the walnut trees. Several are walnut trees, so I left all those, but I got rid of everything else. And except this this is a big walnut stump, but it was rotten and dying or something, and now these sprouts came up, so I need to get that all dug out. I probably ought to bring the backhoe up and just dig that whole thing out and get rid of it. And I'll probably do that eventually. There's nothing else to do. I got a few irons in the fire, I guess I'd say. Hope you enjoyed the little video here, seeing what I do and how I did it. By the way, it was only 3:15 when I stopped this. I think the vlog went to at least 1:45, if I'm not mistaken, on Thursday. So, an hour and a half, and you have to remember it probably took me a half hour to get it serviced, get it greased, get it filled up with fuel, and then drive it all the way back here. So probably no more than an hour to do this whole thing and get it slicked down fairly good. Where if you had an excavator, which is nice, an excavator, you'd spend an hour just in this one spot, you know. I mean, it's just amazing the difference. If you have a place and you need to maintain it, get you a skid steer. Forget the excavator. I know the excavator's the hot ticket on YouTube and on all of the social media. Excavator, everything. But you can do 10 times the work in 1/10 the time with these things. It's just amazing what you can do with these. I know the excavator is more fun because you're operating it like a video game. It's a lot of fun to reach out and grab something and move it over here and reach and move it over here. I just grab it all and move it all at once right over there. It's way better. So I'm just trying to save you some money and help you out. If you have a place and you want to maintain it and you're wondering which piece of equipment to get that. And get as big as you can afford. Make sure you got tracks on it. Start off with just a tooth bucket. That's if you got that, you got the main thing. It's nice to have a set of forks if you get a lot of deliveries and things, or if you have to unload trucks and stuff. And you can use the forks even to move brush piles like that. So you can do that. And then a grapple bucket's really good. And eventually, if you want to, so that you don't have to spend a lot of money on an excavator, you can get a backhoe attachment for this too, or even a trencher attachment. These things are the most versatile machine ever created by a human.
That's for sure. They really are versatile. I'm not kidding you. And I just see, I mean, like every single YouTube video where they're doing something, it's an excavator. Excavator this, excavator that, you know, and like Mike Morgan. And, you know, and I like Mike Morgan. I'm not picking on him. But the reason he likes his excavator over his skid steer is because he's so darn picky. He doesn't, the skid steer tears the ground up a lot. Now that's just a given. But it also smooths it out, and you can, grass seed's cheap. You know what I'm saying? He likes to use his excavator because he can pick this little piece up and he spins around, he moves it here, and then he picks up and moves it there. Well, while he's doing it, I would have cleaned a whole acre of ground while he's piddling around there in that 10 square foot area. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to get the work done, get a skid steer, a big skid steer, and those suckers, like that one I have there, that T300, oh, it's not the biggest one they make, but that thing is like a mini bulldozer. I mean, there's hardly anything that you run up to that thing won't move, push, turn over, pick up, or whatever, you know? Like you can go up to just about any tree and just push it over. Not a 2-foot tree, but you know what I'm saying. Anything reasonable size, a 12-inch tree, you can just push it right out of the ground. It's just amazing. Well, anyway, that was just public service. Just in case you're in the market for a piece of equipment, get the skid steer. You'll be thanking me. Trust me. Okay, let's see. The next thing is I made some progress in another area. Here it is.
Well, my friends, you saw me do that job a minute ago, and while I was down here, I decided to pull that big old log out across the creek. That'll be good firewood for next year anyway. It's a great big oak. It had fallen across the creek, and it was blocking the creek, and there's some more down there that's blocking. I'll have to clean that up in a minute. But while I was down there, I said, what the heck, I might as well drive the Bobcat up here and see if I can dig this out. Look what I did. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think we have a cave now. This is all mud in here, and you can see how it's fallen away from the ceiling, and the water's coming from out over here, and you can see that that's kind of a cave-ish. I have a feeling once this all gets blown out, this could be a big cave. I kind of think so. I really do. It might be really hard to get in at the beginning. Of course, we could always chip away some of this outer rock above. Might have to crawl in, but I'll bet it'll open up after it gets back in there. That's kind of the way our other cave did that we dug out. It was small entrance. We just kept working at it till we got the entrance bigger, and then the cave itself is, you know, bigger. It's not a very big cave, but I have a feeling this one could be huge, especially with an opening this wide. That's a really big opening. Well, at least I know there's a cave here. I know that's a cave now for sure. That's why the LiDAR said there was a big hole here, you know. Well, that's about all I can do for the moment. I may bring up some hand tools and see if I can dig some of this out later. I thought I'd take a little more video from this distance because I think the cave entrance actually shows up better from here than it does from over there close. Yeah, it's got real potential, especially with all that dirt falling loose from the rock above. That pretty much tells me there's something there, and more than likely that doesn't go back in there that far as the dirt goes. The dirt's probably only goes back 3 or 4 feet, something like that. Well, my friends, we're back here at the cave area again, and that area up there I want to metal detect, but it's so muddy I don't know if it's time to do that today. So for the moment, I'm going to see if I can hand dig a little bit of the dirt out from under this lip of the cave. I'm sure we do have a cave now. I just don't know how big or how far back or any of that. And I won't know until I get some of that dirt out of the way. So because it's a 70-some% chance of rain again today, and it looks overcast, there's no sun, I'm not willing to start on the water wheel roof. As soon as I have a clear couple of days, I'll be doing that. But right now, I'm doing this. Well, my friends, the biggest surprise of all is that I found that piece of glass over there. Now that's crazy. That's not, doesn't look like it's especially old. It might be 50, 75 years old, maybe older than that. That's weird to find that down in there. I have a feeling it must have been broken up above and fallen down in while I was digging with the bobcat or something. That's my guess. I don't think it came from inside the cave. I sure wouldn't think so. That's bizarre. Well, the other cave spoiled me big time because the other cave was very similar to this. Water was coming out, but when I dug it, then the water started gushing out and it literally blew the opening open. This is not that case. I really think There's definitely a cave there. I don't even think that's a question. It's just what shape, what size, how far back, all of that. What is amazing though, and what you may not realize, is that this ridge that goes back this way is one of the biggest ridges around here. It's huge. It probably goes a mile or two that way, if not further. And it also fishes off and goes different directions. So there's a potential for a giant cave to go back in there because of the water. You know, over the centuries, water would erode. And there's really good potential. I mean, I think it speaks for itself that we've got 3 caves right here in a row. And this one, I think's got real potential. Unfortunately, it's not an easy one to get into. The other thing that you can't tell from here is that, you know, just this big rock right here that I was standing on, but right on the other side of that, it goes down, and I haven't hit the bottom of that dirt yet. So it could go down another, probably at least a foot. So that opening gets bigger and bigger as you go down. But it's still not the kind of opening that's going to blow itself out, I don't think. I wish it would, but we won't know till the next big rain and we see a bunch of water come forcing through there. Maybe it'll blow at least some hole out, and then we'll have an idea. But it's still kind of cool. We'll just have to wait and see if it materializes.
Well, I knew there was a cave there. I knew it. I absolutely knew it. I mean, for one thing, I thought there was a cave there way before I saw the LiDAR. But once I saw the LiDAR, there was no doubt in my mind there was a cave there. So it was worth digging it out for me. Now, I know most of you think, well, who cares? What are they, you know, what's a big deal about a cave? Well, I don't know. I just think it's interesting. I think it's cool. And if it is the kind of cave you can go back into, they're pretty interesting, pretty fun, pretty neat. And you never know what you're going to find back in there. It's just something I like to do. It's just one of them pastime things that I just enjoy. Anyway, let's see. Regarding the metal detecting, that's up next. So here's a little video on that. This is kind of short, I think.
I'm back here on the new area to detect. You saw me clean this out in the previous video. And right here on top of the mound, you know, the mound goes up like this. Right here on top of the mound, in that very spot, I found that. Isn't that cool? That's really cool to me. That just shows exactly what I found the other day. I found this, just the end of that. And it's in pretty good shape considering. So we'll see if we can clean that up and see if there's any markings on it that might give us a clue as to when and where and when it was made. I've probably spent close to an hour in this area right here. Didn't really grit it off, just kind of quickly went across it. So let me show you stuff here. This, I think this might have been a scoop shovel or something. And this might have been the handle that went onto it somehow. And I don't know that for sure. It may have just been something entirely different. But anyway, that is probably the handle to a shovel or something like that. Here's a really large horseshoe. Not as large as a Clydesdale, but a big horse for sure. And here's a piece of nondescript something. And here's another piece of axe head. I can't even tell you how many axe heads I found, and I think I might have the other half of this. If I do, I might even weld it back together. You never know. This piece here is the front end off of a plow, I believe. Could be a different implement, but a plow would be typical. And these holes will let you adjust it. Like if you hooked into the top, well, that would make it pull down more. If you hooked here, it would pull higher and it would dig shallower. So it just like it does, as you see me moving it here, you can see it tips down and it's going to pull into the ground deeper. And if I hook it down here, it's going to pull the plow tip up and out of the ground. So, you know, it depends on how deep you want to plow. That's what that's for. And this is a hook that would go to the harness for that. This is probably a single tree hook is what I'm guessing. And again, this would be that bar that goes across on behind the horse, and these hooks would be where you hook your chain in and stuff. This looks like a piece of an old clock. It's my best guess. I don't know what that really is. It just looks like a little piece of nondescript pipe. And then more junk here. Now, I didn't find all this today, by the way. I think I found this, but I didn't find the rest of this. I don't know when I found that, honestly. It was just in the pouch. I found this a day or so ago. This is a piece of oyster shell. It was in this general area here. And oyster shell had a purpose for the early pioneers. I can't remember what the purpose was right now. I think they ground it up and did something with it. I just don't remember. But I'm sure they had a purpose. Have to look that up. And then I found all this pottery. There's going to be a lot of pottery surface finds found here after the next rain, I'm sure. This was just, you know, as I was metal detecting, I just happened to notice this stuff. This one's kind of cool. This piece of glass has little beads going across it at an angle. My guess is this is some sort of a lamp or something. Might have been a bottle, I don't know, but I have a feeling it was probably a lamp. This is a real thick piece of glass, maybe a bottle, I don't know. Again, another piece. This kind of looks like it goes to this, honestly, but I don't know where. But anyway, that's what I found this morning, but I found a couple of other quite a bit better finds, and I'll show you those live.
Well, regarding that spoon, my research tells me that it's Wallace Brothers. And here's the information I have on Wallace Brothers. It says, Wallace Brothers silverware, including teaspoons, were primarily made from it's got to be scrolled over, 1856, from 1856 to 1884. When the company name was Wallace Brothers Silver Company. The company founded by R. Wallace in 1835 and incorporated as R. Wallace and Sons Manufacturing in 1879. So it's old, you know. This is old. I don't know exactly when it was made, but it's old, and that's pretty cool. And I found, like I said, I found that other piece to that in the same area. Not that you really care too much to see this, but here's the a close-up of all those ceramic finds. The one down in the bottom center is got some writing on it. I can't really make it out, but I'm hoping to find more of that blue or any of those big, thick ceramic pot type stuff. That would be cool to find the rest of it and put it back together. And there's a chance we'll find it. It could also be buried 2 feet down in that big berm, too. So, you know, who knows if we'll find any more of any of that or not. I don't know. And then lastly, I found one more really cool thing. If there's any Canadians watching, this is kind of cool. You'll kind of like this, too, I think. So here it is. I found a Canadian 1 cent, and it's 1893. I think that's really cool. And it's got Victoria there. And anyway, 1893. That's probably the last thing I thought I would find in that spot, a Canadian coin. You know, I just didn't expect a Canadian coin. I would have expected an old, you know, Indian head penny or something like that. And here's how big it is. It's about the size of a quarter. It's a large cent, 1 cent. So that's really pretty much everything. When I made that little clip, I was including this spoon as some of the better stuff that I found, but then I ended up having that in that clip. So, but anyway, the point is, I did find a couple other things. I found an unusual 22 shell. This one just doesn't look normal to me. It's got a bigger lip around the back end, and it has a D on the end. I'm going to look that up and see if I can figure out anything on that. That's kind of unique. Might be really old. And then I think this is probably a blue jean snap. And that's pretty much the stuff that was identifiable that we found there today. So all of that took place since I talked to you yesterday. And I also had time to do a live music thing last night, too. So I've been kind of busy. Anyway, let's go to the comments now and see who all's around. Eddie Turner looks like he's number one in there today. And David Thorpe says, howdy, Jerry and Vlogsters. Thanks, Jerry, for the play along last night. Well, you're welcome. I enjoy it. I'm not very good, but, you know, I always just say I'm not very good, but I am very loud. Let's see. Moving on down, looking for the question marks primarily. David Thorpe says, why is everyone against sugar? Who stood beside you when things went wrong and you felt bad? It wasn't lettuce, that's for sure. Well, you know, I'll be the first one. This is just me talking. It got no authority for anything, but it's just my opinion. Everybody's got an opinion, so here's mine. I think sugar gets a super bad rap. I really do. I don't think there's anything wrong with sugar at all, or corn syrup. I know everybody does. Everybody rants on them and hates them and, you know, it says it's just poison and all this kind of stuff. I live on it. Rest my case. I live on it. I'm not kidding you. I don't make any apologies for it. I live on it. Ronald Todd. Good afternoon, Jerry and everyone from the West Bank of New Jersey. Let's see. There's B.H. Ringer from Nova Scotia. There you go, B.H. Ringer, right there. There's your gal, Victoria. I just thought that was really cool when that popped out of the ground to see, especially a large scent like that. They, I don't know when they quit making large scents like that in Canada. I know in the United States, I think they quit making them around the Civil War time, maybe just a little before the Civil War even. I think they quit making large scents. Around that time. I don't know exactly when. Let's see. Dottie Hillebrand, prayers for everybody. Thank you, Dottie. Appreciate it a lot. Bill Rhodes, good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be back. Well, I'm glad you're here. Don Nice says, good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Bill Webb says, good afternoon. After we went live, Bill Mombo was the first one. And then David Tharp says, if you lose your khakis in Texas, it means you can't find your pants. If you lose your khakis in Boston, it means you can't start your car. Okay, I'm going to take your word on that one. I don't quite get that one. I'm sure there's something there. Oh, khakis. I got it. Car keys, khakis. I got it. Took me a while, but I got it. I am not as dumb as you think I am. I'm really not. I just look dumb. Sidecar Bob. Hi, everyone. And Jerry. Eddie Turner, see, David, not all your fans are electric. Scott Roberts, I want buns. Scott Roberts says, I want buns of steel, but I also want buns of cinnamon. Ditto. Yeah, I love cinnamon buns, man. I'd kill for that. There's not very much food that I really, really, really like, but cinnamon buns are one of them. Bacon's another one. A really good cheeseburger is another one. Steak's another one. A good baked potato. Good French fries. all the red meat and sugar, salt, and preservatives you can get. Just, all the stuff that's really good for you. That's what I like. Let's see. Nice. Jerry, you got a nice... I'm sorry. I got something in my eye there and I lost my place. Jerry, you got a nice black and white shirt on today. And then Scott Roberts says, by the way, that blue shirt you're wearing is actually green. You guys are more colorblind than I am. It says it's blue. It's blue. Gino Hitch, good afternoon, Jerry and friends. Let's see. Simon Jardine, do you know the animal that has more parents now than ever before in history, but is one of the rarest animals in the world? If not, I'll give the answer and why it has a teeny link to your farm. Not a good guess on this one. I just drawing a blank. Let's see. An animal that has more parents. No, you're gonna have to tell me on that one, Simon. Don't think I know what that is. And Simon says, no Googling, rabble. Give me a minute. Okay, I'm giving you your minute. I don't know what that is. I really don't. Gino Hitch, really enjoyed the music last night. Oh, well, thank you, Gino. But back to your comment there about the animal. I heard an animal this morning that I haven't heard in years here. A bobwhite quail. I was so tickled to hear that. I was out there metal detecting, and through my headphones, even with all those beeps going on, I'm hearing, I can't even do it. I can't do it right now. Anyway, at the time, I could answer him back, and I was answering him, and he kept calling, and I kept calling, and he kept calling. So it was pretty cool to hear a bobwhite quail here. Bobwhite quail they're scarce. They're just not really common anymore. When I was a kid, you couldn't walk across a field as big as my fields without flushing a covey. Nowadays, you don't ever see a covey. I mean, like never. To hear one it just tickled the tar out of me. I was so excited to hear a bobwhite quail. I'm hoping they'll find some way to make a comeback. And one of the ways that they can't come back is the darn fescue. They can't walk through the stuff. And we have a lot of that here, though we do those controlled burns and we try to, get the more native grasses like... I saw a comment that says, I'll probably get to it here in a minute, but they said to plant wildflowers and buffalo grass. Well, what we call buffalo grass, you'd have to put a gun to my head to get me to plant that stuff. But we would plant blue stem or something like that. Those are native grasses here in this area. But buffalo grass, there ain't nothing that likes it. It don't do nothing. It just has fuzz on it. It's a nasty stuff. That's what we call buffalo grass. I think everybody calls it something different, or has their own buffalo grass. But anyway, moving on down. Gino says, really enjoy it. Okay, so sidecar bomb. Jerry, look the other way. I'm cooking a beet and onion pancake for my lunch. Ugh. Good grief. You poor guy. I couldn't even put enough sugar or honey on that to make me want to eat that. There ain't no way. Scott Roberts, if pigs really could fly, I bet their wings would be delicious. I pretty much agree with you on that one. Rod Wintler, Jerry, if you Google a company called Pitch Hopper, I wrote that down. I saw that comment while one of those videos was playing. I wrote Pitch Hopper down. I'm going to look it up. Find a nice roof step that match the pitchy roof. I'll look that up and see if it would be something I could use. The roof's not very big, so if you put anything up there, you don't have any room to work. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. Scott Roberts, sidecar Bob, and picking your teeth with asparagus. Okay. Not sure where that one came from. Let's see. Paul Akers, do you use polishing compound when working the finish on a guitar and type of brand without your buffer? No, what would you use? Polishing compound is definitely a good thing to use. Do not use rubbing compound unless you're really trying to get rid of some big scratches or something. Rubbing compound's too coarse, but polishing compound works. But I really do like, and I think it's one of the best polishes, is to use that semi-chrome polish. It's a metal polish, but it works so good on guitar finishes. It just buffs them out really nice. It'll buff out your metal too. If you've got like a tailpiece that's rusty or something, you use that semi-chrome polish on it, works great, and you put it right on your finish and it works great. It really does. And a little tiny bit goes a long way. Now it's elbow grease intensive. You got to use you got to do a lot of work, but you do with the polish also, with the polishing compound. You got to do the same kind of work. It's work either way. Scott Roberts, Jerry, you are doing a fine job on that berm shave piece of equipment. Yeah, it did a good job and it did it fast. That's the key thing for me, speed is everything. I don't have time to screw around. I got too many things to do. Steve Mann, howdy y'all. Seed that bare ground, that's the comment I was thinking of, with native wildflowers and buffalo grass. Again, I don't know what the buffalo grass you're referring to, but the stuff that we call buffalo grass, you'd have to put a gun to my head to make me put that down there. Scott Roberts, using my invisible hula hoop really seems to freak people out. Boy, I wonder why. Blackjack guitar. Hi, Jerry. Maybe you found the silver mine. Who knows? Yeah, it's... I think I know where the silver mine is, really. I do. I got to logic, thinking about it logically, and the little bit of story that old man had told me, and then the metal detector kind of put the nail in the coffin there for where I think that was at. And it was back further. It's almost all the way to the back of my property. In the back, I guess I'd say it would be the southwest corner of my property. And when you look, it was 100 years ago, over 100 years ago now. And, so most traces of it are gone, but I can still see traces of where they were digging. So I'm pretty sure I know where that was now. And the metal detector kind of confirmed it, because I found some just gigantic pieces of steel in the ground back there. And there'd be no other reason for these weird shaped pieces of steel to be there. I would assume it's some kind of mining equipment. And I'd have to get the skid steer back there, clean it all out in order to do more metal detecting back there. But I may do that one of these days. Let's see. But I don't think that particular cave that you see on this video was ever dug out before. I'm pretty sure of that. I don't think there's ever been anybody back in there. Scott Roberts, ants can be found on every continent except, strangely, Antarctica. Now, I wonder why that is. Sidecar Bob, Scott Roberts, no, but I did put a big spoonful of curry powder in it, so I will clear my sinuses. Ugh. Okay, let's see. There's Christy. Hi, Christy. How are you doing? Life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes. Boy, no, that's the truth. That is the truth. That's the way I feel about these months going by. They're going by so quick. Tell Victor I said hi. Let's see. Sidecar Bob, or maybe that is Victor and he's just using Christie's thing. That's probably what this really is. Sidecar Bob, when they started making time team in 94, most archaeologists looked on detectorists as treasure hunters. Mick Aston saw the value of it and included them. Now it is routine to have them on a dig. Yeah, well, I would think so anymore, for sure. Sidecar Bob says, that Canadian penny is cool. Well, I think it was really cool. When I dug that thing up, I went, what the heck is that? And then it was really in the dirt. It was even worse than now. It's still really hard to see, as you can tell. But when it had the dirt on it, I was like, what is that thing? But then I got just enough light on it to see a woman's face, and I thought, it's a Canadian coin. I just almost knew it instantly. It was a Canadian coin. So then I got back, cleaned it up, and sure enough, for sure, that's what it was. Dottie says, I really enjoyed the play along. Well, thanks. Dottie says, I love sugar, but you have to know when to stop. Well, I haven't hit the wall yet. That's all I can tell you. I literally have not hit the wall yet. I don't know if I told you, I am a genetic defect. It could just be that it just doesn't hit me like it hits everybody else. I don't know. It works for me is all I can tell you. But everything that's bad that I eat is like literally everything I eat, people go, well, that's not good for you. You shouldn't be eating that. It's pretty much everything. I can't think of anything that I eat that somebody goes, oh, that's good. You should eat that. Maybe nuts. That's about it. Like nuts is the only thing I can think of that's maybe people would say that's good. Simon Jardine, it's a mule, Jerry. A mule. Oh, okay. So let me reread that. It says the animal that has more parents now than ever before in history. Okay. But is one of the rarest animals in the world. Well, okay. I'm just going to take your word for it. I don't know why they're so rare. There seem to be a lot of them around here in Missouri. There's lots of people that have mules, Missouri, I don't know. I'm trying to remember is that the state animal or something? There's something connected to Missouri with mules, and the term Missouri mule is a common term, so I don't know. But all I know is I'm finding a lot of mule shoes here on the farm. I found quite a few of them, actually. A mule. I would never have guessed that one. Okay. Wavy gravy. I took my grandmother for a ride yesterday as we passed the YMCA. She pointed at the building and said, oh, look, somebody misspelled Macy's. Oh, if you're dyslexic, you can read it no matter how they spell it, and you'll still see Macy. Scott Roberts, that reminds me of that old radio show, The Whistler. Too bad you can't whistle, Jerry, at least not while you're laughing. Yeah, it's like eating crackers. I can't do it now. I once bet my brother Steve. Steve's the middle one. Scott, you've seen Scott on here with the music and stuff, but he's between Scott and myself. And Steve he's a carpenter's carpenter. I mean, he is really the cream of the crop as a carpenter. I mean, you won't find a better carpenter anywhere on the planet, anywhere. I mean, he's that good. He really is that good. And not just because he's my brother, he's that good. But he's also a knucklehead. When we were kids, he would do anything for $1 or anything for 50 cents or a quarter or anything. I mean, you could tell him, jump off that building, I'll give you $1. He'd jump right off. He didn't care. Anything like that. So one day, it's just something that you said there made me think of this. But anyway, about the whistling. So I a package of saltine crackers like that. I said, all right, if you eat that whole packet of saltine crackers, and then if you can whistle within, I don't remember how many minutes, I gave him a minute or something like that, to do it, I'll give you $1. Well, you had to be there. He did. He put the whole thing, man, he had the whole thing in his mouth. He was blowing crackers all across the kitchen. It was pretty funny. Yeah, like I said, you had to be there. Let's see. Joe, why do birds fly south? Oh, it's too far to walk. I knew the answer to that one. David Tharp, Missouri no longer has alligators. Mosquitoes got them all. Boy, that's the truth. That is the truth. James Copy. As a matter of fact, the mosquitoes were out there today. They were driving me crazy. I had to put on that. I hate that put on that spray stuff, but I did. James Copy. I am doing well with solar panels and batteries. Well, good. Sidecar Bob, do you own the mineral rights to your place, or could someone decide it was worth reopening the mine and start bringing equipment in? I have 280 acres. I have mineral rights to 240. What do you want to bet the 40 acres that I don't have mineral rights to? What do you want to bet where that's at? You want to bet on that? I'm pretty sure I know where it is. I haven't sat down and tried to figure it out. That legalese talk that they use, the northeast quadrant of the section 16 of all that crud that they use. I don't know where it's at on the farm, but there's 40 acres I don't have mineral rights to. So you can bet that's where they're going to find diamonds or something. Let's see. Scott Roberts says, get those thumbs up. Get out there today and be surprised onion ring in someone's French fries. Ugh. Boy, I seriously, you just don't know how bad I hate onions. I'm seriously telling you. If Sue's cooking onions or garlic, or even worse, really, is cabbage, I cannot stay in the house. I gotta leave. I have to go outside. I cannot be in the house. It's that bad. David Tharp, be careful with those nuts, Jerry. You know what they say, you are what you eat. Yeah, well, I pretty much already know that for sure. Scott Roberts, the state animal in D.C. is the jackass. Yeah, probably. Scott Roberts, Joe it's because it's too far to walk. Yep, I knew that one. Let's see. Sidecar Bob, and then there was the insomniac agnostic dyslexic who laid awake at night wondering if there really was a dog. Yeah, well, I could fit that description, I have a feeling. The insomniac, I fit that. The agnostic, not so much, but the dyslexic, for sure. Scott Roberts, the cracker story was hilarious. Your brother would be a hoot to hang out with. Yeah, I'm not kidding you, especially when he was a kid. He would do anything for a quarter bet. You know what I'm saying? He just would. And another story about Steve was he was an incredible athlete, and he was 4 years younger than me, but he could do anything I could do. And I'm talking like I had a really powerful right arm. I could throw a ball well over 100 miles an hour. And I know you're going to say, well, not likely. I could. Up until my 30s, I could throw it at 100 miles an hour. Well, Steve could do anything I could do, including that. And like he was 4 years younger, and he could throw a ball as far as I could, as hard as I could. He could do anything I could do. And he was an incredible athlete. You could not get a like a basketball from him. Impossible. I don't care how good you are, how good you think you are. You couldn't get a basketball from him. He'd be between his legs, behind him, around him. He's ambidextrous. He could do anything with either hand. Like he'd be driving those big, 12-inch spikes with his right arm, and he quits and he starts driving with his left arm. And you can't tell the difference. He's completely like that. He's an amazing guy. He really is. And then, like I said, he is the carpenter's carpenter. I mean, you should see some of the stuff he's built. It's incredible. Beautiful stuff. I mean, just incredibly beautiful houses and big buildings and all kinds of stuff. And the things that he would do when he was a kid, I don't even know how old he was, but he built a unicycle that was 10 feet tall. He had to get up we had a flat garage roof, and he would get up on top of the garage to get on the unicycle. And he'd hop on that thing and he'd ride that sucker everywhere. He just literally, you've just never seen anybody like him in terms of his athletic ability, his coordination, his capabilities like that. Just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Let's see. Rangerog, I'd like to see another water wheel RPM guessing contest. I bet it's going pretty good now. Yeah, it sure is. It really is. Yeah, I'll have to get some more on that. I'm hoping, it's supposed to be another 70% chance of rain tomorrow, too. It did rain today, by the way, just so you know. I mean, I'm not just slacking here. I want to get back on the roof. I really do. But I don't want to have to, do it in a short burst, because it's a big job, and I don't want to have to tear all that stuff off of there that I have covering it, because that's not easy to get off, and it's not easy to put back on. So I want to make sure I've got a time slot. But right now it's supposed to rain today and tomorrow again. But as soon as I can, I'm going to get back on that roof and get that thing going. Let me see here. Try to get the rest of this over with here. Simon Jardine says mules were a very common work and travel necessity 150 years ago. Now they're a specialty breed. Yeah, JR's had a few of them over the years, and he's got several friends that have them. Arkansas was pretty big on mules for a while too. I don't know if they still have a lot of them or not. Gary Hayes, West Virginia jury, that may have been a hideout for Jesse and Frank James. I think they're cousins to Bob. Well, you believe it or not, again, I've tried to tie this place to Jesse James also. I mean, I knew, I told you before, those of you who have been paying attention, I said from the day I bought this place, for whatever reason, and I didn't even have a reason, I just always thought that somehow or another this place had to be tied to the Civil War. Now, I don't know why I thought that. I truly just thought that. I really did. And I never thought I'd be able to prove it. But I tried to look up in kinds of books, and I looked up battles, and, I just tried to find anything that might tie it to this farm. Couldn't find nothing, really. But then when I started finding these Civil War bullets and the buttons and the spurs and all the different stuff, and I didn't even know they were Civil War at the time I found them, well, then sure enough, I tied it in. Well, I've been trying to do the same thing with Jesse James. For whatever reason, I just feel like he had to have some connection to this farm. And you might say, well, that's really stupid. I mean, it's a big state, why would he have a connection? Well, this general area was an area that he was in, and, we have all the springs, and those springs were like gold back in those days. I mean, that's truly like gold. I'm not kidding you. But here's the kicker. We have deeds back to the 1850s, and I think it was in the 60-ish, 70 time frame. I don't remember when Jesse James was doing his thing. I think it was in the 60s and 70s, I think. A guy by the last name of James owned this farm. So, that's why after I saw that, well, then I even got more anxious to try to find a way to tie him in, but I haven't been able to so far. When I dig up that revolver that's got Jesse James, scribbled in the side handle there, then we'll know. But anyway, it's the truth. I just always wanted to try to tie him into it. I don't know why. I just feel like he's probably got some connection to it. Scott Roberts, just heard some optimists say life is like a walk in the park. Yeah, Jurassic Park. Yeah, it is kind of frightening. Scott Roberts, no matter how busy I get, I always take time to overthink. Yeah, I've been known to do that. Scott Roberts, some call it multitasking. I call it doing something else while I try to remember what I was doing in the first place. Kim Williford, how did you get off the unicycle? He would ride it back over to the roof. I'm not kidding you. You got as my witness, hand on a Bible. He would ride that thing all over the place. He was a mess. Well, he had a small unicycle to start with. He didn't start on a 10-foot tall one. And I could ride it a little bit. I could maybe get across this room in it, 10, 12 feet, 15 feet, something like that. It's about as good as I could do. He could go anywhere on the thing. I'm seriously telling you, this kid was talented in terms of physical type abilities, any kind of coordination thing or anything like that. He could do anything. He really could. Another story. I have told this story before. It's been a long time, I think. But this is a true story. I promise you, 100% true. We were out in my mom and dad's front parking lot, and Steve was restoring an old Model A Ford truck, my brother, I think he was old enough to drive by this time. Anyway, we're out in my mom and dad's front parking lot. Well, up drives Gary Mertz. He was a neighbor. He also had a Model A, and he drove up in his Model A. They were going to, I guess, compare stories or something. Well, anyway, I don't remember. Gary gets back in his car, and he's ready to leave. And Steve walks up to the door and says, I'll bet you 10, here's the money again. Steve's always betting on money to do something, And so he says, I'll bet you $10 I can hold your car and you can't drive off. And Gary Mertz says, there's no way. You can't hold my car to keep me from driving off. He says, I'm telling you, just with my hands, me, myself, and I, no gimmicks, nothing, I can hold your car and you won't be able to drive off. Gary says, I'll take that bet. So I'm holding the money. I've got $10 from each of these guys. I'm the guy holding the money because I'm anxious to see how he's going to do this myself. I'm thinking, there's no way. So Steve walks around to the back of the car, takes a hold of the bumper, and goes, whoom, like this. He picks the car up off the ground. Both wheels are off the ground. He says, drive off. So he was right. He won, Steve was really strong. Trust me. I seriously telling you, he was crazy strong. I don't know where he got all that. I feel like I'm reasonably strong. I always have been, but not like he was. He was something else. How do you make a mule? Oh, well, let's see. Let me see if I missed somebody. Doug Hastuck says, do you still have your dog that we saw videos of several months ago? If you're talking about Sadie, no, JR took her back. So as far as I know, he's still got her. I don't know if he still has her or not. I haven't seen her in a while. But no, I don't. Sue didn't like her at all. Didn't like the dog because, well, she jumped on everybody, including David on here, and I think she broke his watch and scratched his skin. I mean, she was just an overly active, anxious dog. She couldn't be still. And Sue just couldn't stand it anymore. And so JR took her back. Let's see. She was finding my deer antler, though. She was starting to do that pretty well. Gino Hitch, how do you make a mule? Well, you take a donkey and breed it to a mare, and then you'll have a mule. And then if it's the other way around, if you take a stallion and breed it to a donkey, they call that a jenny or something. They don't call it a mule. I don't know. I don't know the details of that, but anyway, that's how you make a mule. Scott Roberts, how do you keep a luthier in suspense? Just ask me almost any question. I'm in suspense, I think. Let's see. That's how. Let's see. Simon Jardine. Kim Williford. Jerry, maybe your brother should have joined the circus. Oh, he could have. He could juggle too. I mean, seriously, he could just juggle, and I couldn't do any of that. I couldn't juggle nothing, and he could juggle 3 or 4 balls at one time, no problem. You just could do it. Simon Jardine, the male donkey has to be the father, Gino. The size of the foal would kill a female donkey. Well, they did breed stallions to donkeys too. That is a thing, but it's not as common. Kim Williford, Jerry, if I'm not mistaken, cars were light back then. No, not Model A's. They're very heavy, actually. Believe it or not, they're solid steel. I mean, their bodies were even thicker steel. They're just very heavy cars. I was surprised he could pick it up. He knew he could pick it up, obviously, because he owned one, and I'm sure he picked his own up. And that's why he knew he could do it. So. But he did. I swear, I saw it happen, man. He walked around here and picked up both wheels up off the ground. And those old, I mean, I'm not saying they're crazy heavy, but they're dang heavy, heavier than I could pick up. I know that for sure. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. Thank y'all for being here. I do have some video in the can that maybe I'll get out over the weekend. I just don't know. There's so much to do around here. I just don't have time to sit down and edit video. It takes too long. Y'all take care. We will see you on Monday with something else.